is Klaus Hostel, and I'm doing 100 innovation keynotes in 100 days. Today's number 78, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that I find supremely fascinating: vertical farming. Now, this guy, you probably don't know him, but you should. This is Anders Riemann. He's Danish, and Anders and his team said, let's take this and turn it into this. Their company is called Nordic Harvest, and they are one of the leading vertical farming companies in Europe, perhaps even in the world. Now, according to Anders, he did a recent interview that I saw. They have 14 floors, they do 15 harvests a year, and even though they receive no hectare subsidy from the EU, hektarstøtte in Danish, which is something you get as a farmer, but no, because their hectares are stacked, they can't receive any subsidy for them. And they also don't get to have an ecology stamp of approval, which is something that the EU doesn't give because that is dependent on soil. Even though they're kind of running into some obvious legal difficulties in fitting into the right boxes, they are still, according to Riemann, 250 times as efficient when it comes to land use. That's a staggering number. Not so strange because, first of all, they have more harvest, they have more control, and they get to stack the land, but 250 times less of a land footprint. And when their facility is fully operational, they will be able to take care of 5% of Danish consumption of what they produce. 5% from that one building, one warehouse. That is insane. Just completely. Now this guy, this is Thomas Saxhaug. He is Norwegian, a friend of mine, and this is his world. Thomas and his company, he's not alone in it, but the company he's in is called Plantec, and what they do is they are based in Trondheim, Norway, and they produce microgreens. What that means is that they can make locally grown exotic greens, things that you would not be able to grow in Trondheim, Norway. Now, Trondheim is pretty northern, and Norway is pretty northern to begin with. So its reputation for growing exotic greens is perhaps not the greatest, for good reason, because the climate there isn't really that sort of thing. We're not talking Costa Rica, we're not talking Indonesia, we're not talking something like the places where you'd expect exotic greens to come from. But because they're doing vertical farming and they're doing these microgreens, Thomas and his team are able to do that. They're able to deliver exotic greens, and they deliver them by bike or by foot or by car. They can literally take them from where they grow them in their underground lab, which sounds pretty cool, and then they can take them by hand and deliver them to their customers, which are restaurants at the moment. Because it means that because they're so local and so specialized, they can be in direct dialogue with restaurants. One of them can walk into a restaurant one day and say, talk with the chef and say, what do you need? Oh, you need this, you need this, you need this. We'll make it for you. It'll be locally grown and it'll be fit for exactly what you need. That is crazy. It's crazy cool that you can do this sort of thing. Now, Nordic Harvest, the Danish company, is like a huge operation, while Plantec is a very, very small one for now. Who knows where either of them are going, but both of them are really, really cool. Third guy I'm going to introduce here. This is Dr. Dixon de Pommier. And in 2010, he wrote a book called Vertical Farm, or The Vertical Farm, Feeding the World in the 21st Century. Now, the basic idea here is pretty simple. You take farmland, and then you stack it. Like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of farmland, just as an example. And because stacking farmland is pretty tricky outdoors, it's easier to stack it indoors where we're used to building floors. There are many cool visualizations of this. I found a few of them. There's, for example, this lovely tower. There's this, which also gives a feeling of, okay, you can grow different vegetable crops in here. And this one, which is really nice and open. You can kind of see the families in there getting their hands dirty. Then you take it a step further. Then you go here. You notice something that's here, or rather something that's not here. Something that's not here. You probably noticed it. There's no soil. Now you're growing the plants directly in water, and you're filling that water with nutrients. So why is this so effective? It's so effective because of several things. First, you control the water. You control the nutrients that are in the water. You control the heat. You control the light. You control the air itself. You control basically everything. Not completely, that's why I put the smart brackets there, but you control more or less everything. And that means that the results, they are wild. Absurdly wild. This, I don't know how big a part it will play in the future. Hopefully a huge part. Because this is new technology, this is something that's spreading slowly, or spreading fast, but it's still slowly on a global scale. Hopefully this is going places. But from an innovation standpoint, let's look at why didn't this happen sooner? Well, first off, the problem wasn't really seen. Yes, the problem of needing to grow more, grow better, yada yada. Yes, but for a long while, land use was not, sure it was a problem, but we were just used to transporting things. With globalization, suddenly it became possible to transport an avocado thousands of kilometers to get to a dinner table. And then who worries about locally grown stuff if you can do that, and if you can do that at a reasonable price, and you can make the world work around it? So in some ways, the problem wasn't seen because we'd found other solutions to it. We'd found that if we wanted our tomatoes or our lettuces, and we wanted them in different seasons or for different places, well, the world had shrunken so much that we could just transport them. Sure, the bananas will have to ripen on the way instead of on the tree, but still they'll get there. You could get them. I can go into my local supermarket today. I could get bananas, I can get avocados, I can get lettuce, and I could do it year round. That's because we found different solutions. So the problem wasn't seen because there'd been different solutions to it. Second thing is the concept wasn't there. And the concept could have been explored hundreds of years ago. And maybe it was, but it hadn't gained mainstream recognition. It hadn't really gone places. Dupomier's book did a big thing there. People have been talking about vertical farming. They use different words, sure, but they've talked about this before. But that book and that way it spread made a difference. Now, the monitoring also wasn't easy. Computer systems make a huge difference when it comes to controlling all sorts of factors, the amount of sensors, the amount of interconnected data, blah, 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 blah. It makes a difference. But most critically, and this has been interesting because whatever interview I've seen about this, and this is something I've been following for some years, they all say the same. Light was too expensive. Sure, you could do stuff if you had sunlight, greenhouses, but complete artificial environments depended on light, and the light was simply too expensive. Boom! LED. Change that. And LED bulbs are not, they're not super new. They're not cutting edge. They're not yesterday's technology, but they're also not last century's technology. So they are pretty new in that respect. And what they did was they simply lowered the price. LED light is just so much more efficient than other types of old school lighting. Now, there's an innovation point here to be made. And apart from introducing some of you to the wonderful world of vertical farming, and some of you maybe reigniting your, ooh, this is coming, this is good, there's an innovation point I want to make as I round off this keynote. That is that it was an innovation in light technology that's changing agriculture. Would you say normally that light technology was a part of agriculture? Probably not, because the light's been coming from, the sun for, let's just call it millennia. So now, an innovation, a new invention, a new way of producing light tech suddenly changed agriculture, and it's changing it, and we don't know where this is going to go. We don't know what the impacts could be. It could be huge. Potentially it's going to be crazy because of light tech. So innovation doesn't care about industries. Doesn't care about those definitions and borders that we spend so much time on. What industry are you in? What are you doing? Is it this or that or no? We're in blah, blah, blah. Innovation doesn't care about that. And a tip is, well, don't just look at your own industry. Look outside, because the next major breakthrough might come from a completely unexpected angle. Now, is that hard? Yes, it is hard. You need to be aware of so much more if you're going to take advantage of this. Now, if only you knew somebody who kind of curated innovation keynotes you could just follow from time to time and get up to speed. Sorry for the self-promotion, couldn't help it. I also do a lot of that myself. Apart from self-promoting, I follow a lot of people. I read a lot of stuff. I kind of do these micro dives into a ton of different places because I always learn something new, something unexpected. And I know that whatever it is I'm doing, the new thing in that space, the new thing in my space, there's a good chance it's going to come from someplace completely different. So with that,